Welcome to PastCast. Join us as we dive into the events and lives that shaped our world. Each episode reveals fascinating facts and stories from history. Today, we're embarking on a historical treasure hunt, exploring the mystery of the Copper Scroll. Imagine an ancient map, potentially leading to billions of dollars worth of hidden riches. That's what we're dealing with here.
It is intriguing, isn't it? Instead of a typical historical narrative, the Copper Scroll reads like a cryptic treasure map.
Okay, let's get into this. Billions of dollars worth of treasure. That's a pretty bold claim. What exactly are we talking about?
This scroll, discovered in 1952 among the Dead Sea Scrolls, is believed to detail the locations of treasures from the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. We're talking tons of gold and silver, temple artifacts, priestly garments, even other scrolls. A vast and valuable collection.
Wait, a scroll made of copper. How is that even possible?
That's what makes the Copper Scroll so unique. It's made of actual copper sheets, nearly 8 feet long. Unlike the other Dead Sea Scrolls, which are primarily parchment or papyrus, this copper composition has helped preserve it for centuries.
So, this scroll is essentially a laundry list of buried treasure. I'm already picturing myself raiding lost arks and dodging booby traps. Tell me, what kind of locations does this scroll actually describe?
The scroll lists 64 different locations, each with cryptic descriptions of where treasures are supposedly buried. For instance, one entry mentions the salt pit, with 41 talents of silver hidden under the steps.
The salt pit. Okay, that definitely sounds like it's straight out of an Indiana Jones movie. Give me another one.
All right. How about the old washer's chamber, promising 65 bars of gold hidden on a terrace? Then there's Mattia's courtyard, where 70 talents of silver are supposedly buried in a cistern within a burial chamber.
These descriptions are so vivid, it's almost like you can step back in time and picture these places. But let's talk about those talents you mentioned. For those of us who aren't ancient treasure hunters, how much silver are we actually talking about here?
A talent is an ancient unit of weight, and 1 talent of silver is roughly equivalent to 75 pounds. So, when the scroll mentions 41 talents, we're talking about over 3,000 pounds of silver in just one location. Imagine what 70 talents would look like.
Wow, that's a serious amount of silver. And you said the total value of the treasure is estimated to be in the billions. It makes you wonder where all this wealth came from in the first place.
That's one of the big mysteries surrounding the scroll. It likely dates back to the 1st century CE, somewhere between 25 and 135 CE, a time of great upheaval in Judea with the Jewish revolts against Rome.
So, could this treasure be linked to those revolts? Maybe people knew the Romans were coming and decided to hide their valuables for safekeeping.
That's a very plausible theory. The timing certainly aligns. But if that's the case, who created the scroll? And why go through the trouble of making such an elaborate treasure map?
It seems like whoever created this scroll had a lot of inside information. Were they temple officials? Priests?
That's a strong possibility. They would have had access to the temple treasures and the knowledge of where to hide them. However, we can't rule out other possibilities. Some scholars believe the scroll might be a work of fiction, a coded message, or even a mystical document.
A coded treasure map. That's a twist. It adds another layer of intrigue to this whole mystery. But let's be practical here. Has anyone actually found any of these treasures using the Copper Scroll as a guide? Were there any real-life Indiana Jones expeditions?
There have been numerous attempts, some more well-documented than others. In the early 1960s, archaeologists excavated a site called Hyrcania Fortress, specifically mentioned in the scroll. They spent years exploring tunnels beneath the fortress, hoping to find the hidden treasure.
So, did they strike gold? Did they find a secret chamber overflowing with ancient riches? I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Unfortunately, no. While they uncovered a vast network of tunnels, their search ultimately led to dead ends. The treasure, if it ever existed at that location, remained elusive.
Ah, that's a shame. But surely, they didn't give up after just one try, right? What about other locations? Did anyone else try to follow the Copper Scroll's cryptic clues?
No, not at all. Researchers haven't given up on the Copper Scroll. They continue to study it, trying to decipher its clues and pinpoint those elusive locations. One scholar, Stephen Fan, even investigated Cave 3, where the Copper Scroll was originally found, hoping to learn more about its origins and perhaps unlock some of its secrets.
So the hunt continues. That's exciting. It seems like everyone wants to be the one to crack the code and discover the Copper Scroll's hidden treasures. But before we delve further into those attempts, I'm curious about the treasures themselves. What exactly does the scroll list? Is it just gold and silver? Or is there more to this ancient treasure trove?
This scroll doesn't just mention gold and silver, though it does list them in mind-boggling quantities. It paints a picture of a diverse and valuable collection of treasures, offering us a glimpse into the wealth and rituals of the Second Temple period.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Give me the details. What kind of treasures are we talking about?
Well, as I mentioned, gold and silver are frequently listed, often measured in talents. Remember, 1 talent of silver is roughly equivalent to 75 pounds. Some entries mention dozens of talents hidden in a single location.
So, we're talking about king's ransom in precious metals. But beyond the gold and silver, what else does the Copper Scroll reveal?
It also lists various temple items, things like tithing vessels, which were used for collecting donations, and other vessels used in religious rituals. These objects would be incredibly valuable to historians and archaeologists, offering insights into the religious practices of the time.
Not just valuable in terms of money, then, but also historically and religiously significant artifacts. It's amazing to think that these objects might still be out there somewhere, buried beneath the sands of time.
Precisely. And speaking of religious significance, the scroll even mentions priestly garments being hidden away.
Priestly garments, like the elaborate robes and ceremonial attire worn by the priests in the temple. Can you imagine the craftsmanship and detail that must have gone into creating those garments? What a find that would be.
It's fascinating to contemplate, isn't it? And for those who appreciate the written word. The scroll also mentions other scrolls hidden in 3 separate locations.
Wait, scrolls hidden within a scroll. That's incredible. I wonder what those scrolls contained. Perhaps lost religious texts, historical accounts, or even, dare I say, other treasure maps.
The possibilities are endless, right? It's like a historical mystery within a historical mystery. Each new detail adds another layer of intrigue to the Copper Scroll.
It's incredible how much variety there is in this treasure trove. From precious metals to religious artifacts to lost scrolls. It's like a historian's dream come true.
And there's one final entry, the 64th location. That stands out as particularly intriguing. It reportedly mentions a duplicate of the Copper Scroll itself, along with a more detailed explanation of the treasures and their locations. Imagine that, a guidebook to the treasure map.
A duplicate scroll with more details. That would be an incredible discovery. It could revolutionize our understanding of the Second Temple period and its treasures. But let's face it, the big question remains, are these treasures still out there? Has anyone actually managed to locate any of them based on the Copper Scroll's instructions?
Yeah, it really is the question, isn't it? Has anyone actually found this stuff?
It is, and while the Copper Scroll offers those tantalizing clues, no one has definitively located any of those treasures listed in it.
But like you said, there have been attempts. We talked about Hyrcania Fortress. What about some of the other locations? Did anybody else try to follow this map?
Absolutely. Numerous expeditions and investigations, hoping to strike it rich, uncover these ancient treasures. But as we've mentioned, the Copper Scroll is notoriously cryptic. The descriptions are vague, difficult to pinpoint on the modern landscape.
Right. Trying to solve a giant ancient riddle. And the landscape has changed a lot in a couple thousand years.
Oh, yeah?
So it adds a whole other layer of complexity. It does. And some scholars even believe, like we talked about with Stephen Fan, they believe that even if we could decipher all the clues, the treasures themselves may be long gone. He theorizes that the Romans, notorious for plundering during their conquests, likely looted most of the treasures during their siege of Jerusalem.
Yeah, makes sense. Romans were famous for stripping conquered cities of their wealth. So if that's the case, kind of a bummer. But it does add another element to the story, doesn't it? It really is a story of a turbulent time.
It is. And the Copper Scroll, even without that promise of physical treasure, it offers us a window into that pivotal moment in Jewish history, a time of conflict, upheaval, and the desperate measures that people took to protect what was most precious to them.
So while the dream of finding a hidden chamber full of gold and silver might remain elusive, this scroll is still so valuable just as a historical artifact.
Absolutely. It's a testament to human ingenuity and resilience in the face of adversity. And the Copper Scroll allows us to connect with the past on that tangible level, spark our imaginations, and inspire us to keep digging into those mysteries of history.
Yeah, and reminds us that sometimes the real treasure isn't necessarily the gold and silver, but it's that knowledge and understanding we gain from studying these objects.
Couldn't agree more. The Copper Scroll, whether its treasures are ever found or not, continues to enrich our understanding of the past and ignite that curiosity about the secrets that lie hidden beneath the sands of time.
Thanks for tuning in to PastCast. We hope today's episode sparked your curiosity for history. If you enjoyed it, leave us a review. It helps us reach more history lovers like you. Stay curious. And join us next time on PastCast.